This middle-aged man gets sprayed all over with feces from a giant intestine while cleaning up a kaiju's corpse. People around him believe he has lived in a toilet for 3 years because of the stench on him. This is just a normal workday for Kafka. He is a kaiju corpse cleaner and is already 32 years old. Despite all the sacrifices he makes, his salary is the lowest of all. Every day, he squeezes into a tiny rented room, and even if he dies, no one will notice. In the eyes of others, he is a useless middle-aged man, but he actually holds the power to destroy the world. Whenever Kafka turns into a kaiju, his power brings despair even to the strongest humans. Why does a human turn into such a kaiju? Kafka's transformation begins with a Kaiju Invasion. The weather is terrible that day. A kaiju wreaks havoc in Yokohama City. It is 60 meters long, and its disaster level is rated at 3.5, which is considered a medium to low threat. Civilians within a 3-kilometer radius are evacuated immediately. Soon, there are no people left on the streets. Only members of the defense force in helicopters surrounding the kaiju and launching their attack. Ordinary missiles and firearms cause very limited damage to the kaiju. Mina, the captain of the Defense Force's 3rd unit, immediately uses a heavy sniper cannon to strike. In the next moment, the kaiju's body bursts open, and its blood sprays into the air, falling like raindrops from the sky. Next, it is Kafka's turn to work. He works for a private cleaning company, and his daily job is to clean up the remains of kaijus after they are killed. The public applauds the 3rd unit, but they look down on the cleaners. Kafka is already used to discrimination, and he feels numb toward life. If nothing unexpected happens, he will stay in this job until he retires. But in Japanese anime, a story can go without a heroine, but it must have unexpected events. Kafka is assigned to clean the kaiju's intestines. He tries to resist, but is eventually forced to give in. This job assignment directly leads to Kafka's later transformation. At night, Kafka uses a whole liter of body wash but still smells bad. Just as he feels completely overwhelmed, he suddenly sees news about Mina on the television. When they were kids, Kafka and Mina once promised each other to fight kaijus together, but now they seem like people from 2 different worlds. This gap leaves Kafka feeling deeply frustrated. He longs to gain strength and become a hero like Mina. Unfortunately, by morning, what awaits him once again is a job full of foul smells. Today, a new coworker named Reno joins the cleaning company. This boy, much like Kafka in his youth, dreams of joining the defense force to fight kaijus. However, Kafka has failed every recruitment attempt, and now he is already beyond the eligible age to apply. Reno does not like Kafka's slacker attitude, but he has to admit that this senior is a good guy. When Reno loses his appetite because of the filthy cleaning work, Kafka forces him to eat so he has enough energy to get through the day. After work, Reno thanks Kafka and brings him some news. The Defense Force has raised the age limit for applicants to 33. Reno hopes Kafka won't miss this last chance, so he won't live with regret for the rest of his life. Suddenly, a kaiju appears behind Reno. Fortunately, Kafka reacts quickly and saves him. Kafka tells Reno to go notify the defense force while he stays behind to distract the kaiju. This kaiju is not difficult to deal with, but that is only true for the defense force elites. For an ordinary person like Kafka, even running at full speed, it is still hard to escape the chase. A strong sense of exhaustion makes Kafka feel he is about to die. Instinctively, he recalls the promise he made with Mina during childhood. This sparks a surge of will to survive, but unfortunately, he is hit on his calf by the monster in just one strike. Now, he has lost all chance of escape. This time, it is Reno who comes to save Kafka. He notifies the defense force and now has to return to do what must be done. The two of them either live together or die together. Kafka looks at Reno and thinks of his younger self. Crawling on the ground, he tries hard to move forward to help. At this moment, a white tiger kaiju suddenly appears, and Mina finishes it off with a final strike. This female hero does not glance at Kafka even once, as if she completely does not remember this childhood friend. While Kafka is hospitalized for recovery, he feels deeply moved. Ordinary humans risk their lives but cannot injure the kaiju, yet Mina kills it with a single strike. The hospital curtain separates Kafka's bed from Reno's, so Reno does not notice Kafka's low spirits and also fails to detect the upcoming accident in time. A mysterious larva suddenly appears and quickly crawls into Kafka's mouth. When Reno pulls back the curtain, he sees a kaiju in a human form. An elderly patient immediately calls the police upon seeing the kaiju. Mina is the officer in charge of the area. She immediately gathers her team and heads to the hospital. At the same time, an emergency alert about the kaiju appearance begins broadcasting throughout Yokohama City. Kafka does not realize he is about to be threatened. He forces a smile, trying to calm the elderly patient, but the old man is so frightened that he faints. Reno immediately takes Kafka and flees. Along the way, Kafka changes into different forms, and his tongue can extend to catch prey. Embarrassingly, Kafka suddenly feels the urge to urinate. He cannot control his kaiju body, and 2 streams of urine spray out from his chest. Kafka feels deeply humiliated and briefly considers ending his own life. At this moment, he senses a new kaiju appearing. Reno thinks the new kaiju will distract the defense forces and sees this as a good chance to escape. However, Kafka makes a different choice. He punches the new kaiju away and saves a mother and her daughter. Kafka feels that his power has grown a lot. He tries to throw a second punch with full strength. This time, the new kaiju completely explodes, turning into a shower of blood raining down everywhere. Kafka becomes fascinated with his new body. This is the power he has never had before. The next moment, he scares a little girl because of his kaiju look and feels very guilty, intending to leave, but he does not expect to receive thanks from the little girl. At this moment, Kafka suddenly realizes his future path. He wants to fulfill his promise to Mina and fight for humanity to eliminate all the kaiju. When Mina arrives, Reno and Kafka have already escaped, leaving only the remains of the kaiju behind. Mina does not understand who is hunting the kaiju. When she asks the surviving little girl, she is told that there is a very gentle kaiju who protected the mother and daughter. The little girl also begs Mina not to destroy this benefactor. Eventually, Kafka's transformed kaiju is designated as Kaiju number 8. Only when a kaiju's strength reaches a certain level does it receive its own number. The defense force launches a full-scale manhunt for Kaiju number 8. The good news is that no one suspects Kafka as Kaiju number 8 for now. When he and Reno return to the hospital late at night, they are mistaken for ordinary patients seeking refuge from the kaiju attack. Several more months pass, and Reno brings Kafka good news. They both pass the defense force's first round of testing. Kafka can now switch forms relatively skillfully, like transforming only certain hidden parts of his body. This way, he can use kaiju power without drawing much attention. Reno thinks Kafka's decision to join the defense force is very dangerous. After all, this place is full of elite human soldiers. If Kafka's identity is accidentally exposed, he will face extremely fierce attacks. However, Kafka has strong determination. For him, life should be lived with more meaning. Kafka does not want to waste the power of the kaiju, nor does he want to break his promise to Mina. When Kafka and Reno go to take the defense force's second round test, they run into trouble. A girl named Kikoru is very stubborn and demands that Kafka give up parking spot number 55 because she believes 55 is her lucky number today. Kafka cannot accept Kikoru's stubbornness, and he cannot stand being called an old man. The next moment, Kikoru starts taking off her jacket. She is wearing the combat suit issued to Defense Force members and throws Kafka's car aside with her bare hands. After showing off her strength, Kikoru suddenly points out that Kafka smells like a kaiju. Reno explains that their job is to clean up kaiju remains. At this moment, Kafka lifts the company's truck with his bare hands and sets it down smoothly. Kikoru finally stops underestimating Kafka and becomes interested in this middle-aged man. When Kafka moves the truck, he turns his hand into kaiju form, which is why he has strength beyond that of a human. Reno warns Kafka not to take risks just for the sake of winning. There are many soldiers patrolling here, and if they get exposed, both of them will instantly be riddled with dozens of bullet holes. Kafka sincerely admits his mistake and takes the physical fitness test together with Reno. The result makes Kafka very desperate. Although he has kept exercising and his daily work helps improve his stamina, he is still weaker than others during the full intensity test. Among the 225 participants, he ranks the 219th. Kikoru ranks 5th. This girl deliberately comes to show off her results to Kafka. Kafka is 32 years old, while Kikoru looks only like a teenager. He never expected to lose to a girl, and lose so completely. Reno quickly comforts Kafka, explaining that this year's Defense Force selection has attracted geniuses from all over the country, making the competition much tougher than usual. These talented individuals all share a common rival, Kikoru. This girl graduated from university at the top of her class at just 16, and her major was specifically focused on kaiju extermination. Reno also tells Kafka that he took the cleaning job because the final round of testing for the past 2 years has involved dealing with kaiju corpses. He wanted to get a head start on learning that knowledge. Kafka gets really excited. He may not be good at combat, but when it comes to handling kaiju remains, he is the strongest expert. At this moment, Sushiro, the vice captain of the 3rd unit, makes his entrance. He is the chief examiner for this year's selection process. Sushiro brings bad news for the candidates. Unlike previous years, this time they won't be dealing with dead kaiju. Instead, Instead, they must subdue live kaiju within the simulation grounds. Kafka feels both terrified and furious. The hope Reno had given him is now completely shattered. Next, 2 more pieces of news await Kafka, one good and one bad. The good news is that each candidate receives a battle suit. These suits are made from kaiju corpses and can greatly enhance the wearer's combat power. However, the effectiveness of the suit depends on the wearer's ability to activate it. Most trained soldiers can activate around 20% of their suit's potential, while some geniuses can reach over 10% on their very first try. Reno manages to activate 8%. Kikoru, on the other hand, activates a staggering 46%. Her overwhelming lead sets her apart from everyone else, and her combat power is already approaching squad leader level. The bad news is that Kafka's activation rate for the battle suit is 0. This means that even while wearing the equipment, he's no different from an ordinary person. Such a case has never occurred before in the history of Defense Force recruitment. Kikoru, who witnessed Kafka's strength in the parking lot, instinctively believes that this old guy is hiding his true power. Sushiro then explains the final test to the candidates in detail. Inside the simulation field, there is one main kaiju captured by the Defense Force along with 36 subordinate kaiju. The main kaiju is equivalent to a boss-level threat, and once its strength reaches a certain level, it receives a unique identification number just like Kafka. The subordinate kaiju are its offspring and are slightly weaker in comparison. Once the test begins, drones record the candidate's combat performance throughout the entire process. If the examiners detect that a candidate's life is in danger, they will remotely activate the shield built into the combat suit. Under normal circumstances, triggering the shield also means the candidate is deemed unqualified and will be eliminated. In the event of a major accident, candidates may even lose their lives. Kikoru ignores Sushiro's warning and is the first to charge into the simulation field. She can kill a subordinate kaiju with just a few shots. Meanwhile, even when other elite candidates team up and fire dozens of rounds together, they still fail to take down a single subordinate kaiju. This stark contrast highlights the difference in their combat suit activation levels, revealing a massive gap in combat power. Kafka is the most unfortunate among the candidates. Wearing the combat suit makes things worse for him. Without any boost to physical strength or weapon power, the heavy suit only slows him down. Kafka decisively discards his main weapon and carries only a handgun to reduce the burden. Thanks to his extensive experience in cleaning up kaiju corpses, he is very familiar with the subordinate kaiju's weak points. Kafka shifts his role from attacker to support. He selects the right grenades to disrupt the subordinate kaiju's senses and constantly alerts other candidates to aim for their weak spots. With Kafka's effective command on the battlefield, another subordinate kaiju is successfully taken down. Kafka gains confidence from his success in battle, but just as he searches for the next subordinate kaiju, he is caught off guard and ambushed. With a fractured bone, Kafka is unable to evade the incoming attack. Sushiro prepares to activate the protective shield. At this critical moment, Kikoru suddenly appears and shoots down the kaiju. No longer satisfied with the current level of combat, she immediately sets off to hunt the main kaiju. Kafka cannot keep up because of his fractured leg, and his body has reached its limit at his human form. Unwilling to give up, he endures the intense pain and forces himself to stand. Then, a miracle happens. The activation rate of Kafka's combat suit rises to 0.01%. Even so, Kafka's combat ability in human form remains very weak. He urges Reno to go ahead, not wanting to become a burden to his junior, but Reno refuses to abandon him. Instead, he carries Kafka on his back and continues moving forward. Sushiro bursts into laughter at their bizarre posture and even considers letting the two of them pass the test on the spot. This simulated battlefield is nothing short of hell for ordinary people like Kafka. Their low combat suit activation rate means minimal enhancement to their physical abilities and attack power. However, this so-called hell doesn't mean so much to Kikoru. Taking down a subordinate kaiju is no more difficult for her than stepping on an ant. As a result, her hunting journey goes smoothly, and even the main kaiju ends up with a hole blasted through its body by her. In Sushiro's original estimation, at least 30 people activate their shields and get eliminated. Kikoru reduces the difficulty of the entire exercise with her combat strength. If the total score that all participants combined can achieve in this exercise is 100 points, Kikoru alone can obtain 98 points. But this scoring only applies to this moment, because a serious accident is about to occur. The exercise ends, and the candidates begin to leave one after another. Kikoru is about to find Kafka to show off, when suddenly her chest is struck and blood splashes out. She narrowly avoids death by concentrating the power of her combat suit on defense. The attacker is a new kaiju, later designated as Kaiju number 9. This kaiju can speak like a human and causes Kokoro dozens of wounds within 1 second. Even more terrifying, Kaiju number 9 revives all the dead kaiju in the exercise area and then disappears. The main kaiju undergoes a mutation and gains even greater combat power. Kokoro tries to stop it from slaughtering the other candidates, but she is severely injured in a single blow and left on the verge of death. In the final moments before death, a person's most important memories often flash through their mind, and Kokoro is no exception. She has always ranked first in every exam since childhood. Yet while other students receive praise from their parents even when they did poorly, Kokoro has never once been praised by her father. Her mother was killed by a kaiju, and since then, her father has devoted himself to wiping out all kaiju. This obsession with revenge has become so extreme that the relationship between father and daughter is devoid of warmth, filled only with a desire to grow stronger. Deep down, Kokoro longs for her father's approval, but she has forgotten how to properly express her emotions. At this moment, Mina and Sushiro are rushing to the simulation site at full speed. They have just received bad news. The command center staff, watching through the drones, see that the main kaiju's organs for attacking, which had been completely severed earlier, have somehow fully regenerated. If Kokoro is attacked now, death is her only possible outcome. Though Kokoro cannot block the attack, someone steps in to protect her. Kafka shifts into his kaiju form, with his body extremely hardened, and with a single punch, he knocks back the main kaiju's assault. The main kaiju tries to sneak attack, but Kafka smashes it into pieces with one punch. Kokoro remains surprised the whole time and then falls unconscious from her severe injuries. When Mina and Sushiro arrive, they see the ground covered with the main kaiju's shattered flesh. Sushiro recalls the kaiju remains he saw several months ago, and he finds it hard to imagine what kind of strike could cause such an effect. Kokoro survives after receiving medical treatment. To help Kafka keep his kaiju's secret, she lies to Sushiro claiming she defeated the main kaiju herself. At this moment, Kaiju number 9 is inside a public restroom next to the cleaning company, looking at news about the defense force on its phone. It is very curious why not a single candidate died in this accident. Then Kaiju number 9 transforms into a new employee of the cleaning company. No one notices an evil force has already begun to lurk in the human world. Life seems to have returned to calm again. Kafka and Reno finally receive a letter sent by the Defense Force staff. They agree to open the envelope together. Kafka is so nervous that his heart feels like it's about to jump out of his throat. Soon, the induction ceremony for new Defense Force members begins. The geniuses gather in the main hall, including Reno. Kafka is the only one missing. Many of the newcomers have a good impression of this middle-aged man and feel somewhat regretful. Mina thanks Kokoro for eliminating the main kaiju and preventing major casualties among the candidates. Kokoro feels very conflicted. She looks down on taking credit for someone else's work, but to protect the middle-aged man's secret, she has to do it now. At this moment, Kafka bursts in. Late, when all the captains reject Kafka, Sushiro chooses to recruit this middle-aged man as a reserve member. He believes Kafka can find the kaiju's weak points and knows how to support his teammates, showing strong qualities beyond just fighting. Next, Mina, as the commander of the 3rd unit, begins to speak. In recent years, the frequency of kaiju appearances and disaster level have far exceeded the annual average, and there have even been inexplicable phenomena like kaiju resurrection. This means that much of the combat experience is no longer reliable, and the difficulty of future battles will greatly increase, making death and injury hard to avoid. However, Mina assures everyone that she will always stand at the very front line of the fight. Suddenly, Kafka shouts that he will immediately stand by Mina's side, unintentionally revealing what is truly in his heart. Everyone present is stunned. In the end, Kafka is punished with 100 push-ups for not addressing Mina by her official title. Sushiro explains to others that he likes Kafka's well-rounded qualities and how he always brings a humorous atmosphere. Actually, Sushiro has another reason for recruiting Kafka. When the instruments detected the appearance of an extremely powerful kaiju inside the training ground, Kafka's vital signs mysteriously disappeared. Sushiro needs this suspicious man to stay close for investigation. Kafka struggles to finish his punishment. At this moment, Kokoro orders him to go out together. The new recruits tease that the girl has fallen for the middle-aged man, but Kokoro pays no attention to it. She rents out a whole restaurant and learns from Kafka the entire story of his transformation. Kafka hesitates, and he has thought about confessing his secret to the defense force. Kokoro tells Kafka there are only 2 possible outcomes if he confesses. He will be killed, or the rest of his life will be spent as a test subject. Kokoro explains that many kaiju are turned into weapons after they die. Kokoro promises to keep Kafka's secret, and at the same time, she does not forget to issue a warning. If in the future Kafka attacks humans, she guarantees she will personally take action to kill him. In the following Defense Force training, Reno shows the most dedication. His combat suit activation rate rises to 18%. There is only one reason behind Reno's hard work. He hopes to become strong enough to handle all kaiju, so that Kafka will never have to risk transforming again. Iharu and Reno are rookies from the same class. During the selection process, Iharu's combat suit activation rate was 14%, and it has now increased to 20%, although still slightly higher than Reno's. The gap between them is steadily narrowing. The second most outrageous is Kikoru, whose combat suit activation rate has reached 55%. The most outrageous is Kafka, with an activation rate of 1%. Kafka proudly chases after Kikoru to show off his result. He is genuinely satisfied. At night, the rookies soak in the bath together. When a group of men gathers, their competitive spirit rises in proportion to their numbers. Iharu shows off his muscles, while Kafka inhales deeply to fake muscle definition. But when the muscle-bound Kaguraji enters, everyone quickly retreats into the water. The cheerful mood doesn't last long. Once they begin talking about why each of them joined the defense force, Kafka accidentally reveals his connection to Mina. What follows is an interrogation session. Everyone becomes curious about Mina's past. They get so carried away with their conversation that they stay in the bath too long and all pass out. This group of rookies has formed a close bond, regardless of whether they're geniuses. Each one trains with great effort. Because of this, their seniors place high hopes on them. In order to move from a reserve member to a full-fledged soldier, Kafka spends all his free time in the library studying. Sushiro, who secretly overheard Kafka's bathhouse conversation last time, knows that Kafka is working so hard because of Mina, seemingly wanting to help. Sushiro allows Kafka 2 extra hours of library access each day. As Sushiro is about to leave, the kaiju alarm suddenly goes off. A bloody night is about to fall. The 3rd Division holds an emergency meeting, during which Technical Officer Kokomi delivers a situational report. Civilians in the kaiju-affected area are currently being evacuated, and the local military has established a frontline observation post. The kaiju this time is massive in size and has spawned a large number of subordinate kaiju. Mina formulates a rather aggressive battle plan. The entire city is divided into several zones. Each squad captain is assigned a sector and tasked with eliminating the subordinate kaiju in their area, while Mina leads the main squad to take down the main kaiju. On the way to hunt the kaiju, Kikoru eagerly expects Kafka to perform brilliantly in battle, but the middle-aged man is so nervous he almost throws up. Fortunately, they soon arrive at the combat zone, where the newcomers will showcase the results of their training over the past few months tonight. As the battle begins, Kafka once again loses his nerve. While everyone else jumps straight off the tall building, he's the only one who slowly climbs down. Kafka readjusts his mindset, ready to fight his coolest fight yet, but a single subordinate kaiju smashes him flying. The other newcomers are affected by Kafka's mishap, and the veteran members of the defense force warn them not to get in the way. Kikoru is very upset and kills several subordinate kaiju in a row, astonishing the veteran soldiers. Kaiju shells are generally very tough, and normally only by finding their weak spots can they be killed. Only strong fighters like Mina and Kikoru can defeat enemies directly with their powerful attacks. Reno does not have Kikoru's talent, but he can also independently eliminate subordinate kaiju. In this world, anyone who makes an effort will be rewarded. Through the communication device, Kafka learns about the performance of his fellow newcomers, and he does not want to be just a bystander. At this moment, he suddenly realizes that they have not yet figured out the weak points of the subordinate kaiju. So Kafka tries to dissect the remains of the subordinate kaiju, and he finds important information. Sushiro receives a report from Kafka that the joint between the head and torso of the beast is a weak point, and it is easier to hit it with a side attack. The most troublesome thing is that the reproductive organs also appear on the body of the beast. The subordinate kaiju could reproduce like the main kaiju, which is a very rare situation. Sushiro immediately orders to inform all the team members of this information. This information does not mean much to Mina because her attack power has already reached an overwhelming level. Every attack from Mina carries the momentum of world-ending destruction, and she kills the main kaiju with just 2 blasts. Strangely, Mina insists on launching a 3rd and 4th shot, as if she is deliberately showing her strength to Kafka. Sushiro's family heritage and exclusive weapon are both swords, so unlike Mina, he is better at dealing with small and medium-sized kaiju at close range. However, the protagonist tonight is neither the main kaiju, nor Mina or Sushiro. It's Reno and Iharu, who accidentally encounter a cleaner in an area where the subordinate kaiju are active. Unfortunately, the cleaner is kaiju number 9. The main kaiju is actually a product of kaiju number 9, and it has many reproductive organs growing in its body. When the main kaiju dies, the remaining kaiju in its body surge out like a wave of kaiju. Kaiju number 9 has a strong learning ability, and it lurks in disguise as a cleaner in order to gain knowledge of the human world. Therefore, Kaiju number 9 will not allow its identity to be exposed, and it attacks with its fingertips. Fortunately, Kaiju number 9's human form has low attack accuracy, and Iharu's heart is almost pierced. Then Kaiju number 9 simply switches back to its original form, whose features are well known to the defense team members thanks to Kokura's explanations. Reno immediately tries to call for backup, but the area is already controlled by Kaiju number 9. It is impossible to enter or exit this space, and communication is also blocked. Kaiju number 9 is using human technology against humans, and its ambitions go beyond that. Iharu and Reno become Kaiju number 9's new targets. The good news is that Reno, thanks to Kokura's earlier warning, knows Kaiju number 9's attack patterns. By observing and dodging in advance, Reno only suffers minor injuries. If his leg joints are injured and he cannot move, Kaiju number 9 will immediately drag him away for experiments. Reno decides to follow the example of his idol Kafka and stays behind to cover his companion's escape and rescue. Iharu doesn't want to waste the opportunity Reno has fought for with his life, so he quickly leaves the battlefield. Reno is alone facing the almost insurmountable pressure of Kaiju number 9, and he can't help but feel desperate. When Reno remembers that Kafka dared to fight against Kaiju when he was still an ordinary person, he regains his courage and fires bullets crazily. At this moment, Iharu suddenly remembers what Sushiro said while running away, that most members of the defense force can only activate the combat suit to less than 30%, and only by breaking this limit can a new stage be opened. Iharu's activation of the combat suit has been stagnant for a long time, and he suddenly realizes the gap between himself and Reno. Iharu has always been protected, and Reno is the one who provides protection. This time, he will protect Reno. He doesn't want to be the one being protected anymore. Kaiju number 9 can't understand Iharu's thinking. Next, the two human warriors join forces to fight Kaiju number 9. Even though they know they have only a tiny chance to win, they still don't surrender or run away. This is the romance that belongs only to humans. Iharu covers Reno's approach to Kaiju number 9 with firepower, while imitating Reno's dodging, and he creates a good opportunity. Reno uses special bullets to hit the strongest attack. Unfortunately, Kaiju number 9 uses the Kaiju corpse to create a barrier to resist the attack. The next moment, Kaiju number 9 leaves 7 wounds on Reno in 2 seconds. At such a close distance, it is impossible for Reno to dodge due to his weak physical condition, and his vitality is rapidly draining away, making him unable to move. Kaiju number 9 only needs Reno as a test subject, and it begins to gather energy to kill Iharu with one blow. Iharu does not care about his own life or death. He prays to all the gods he knows for Reno's survival. As if the gods have heard his prayer, a shadow appears and beats Kaiju number 9 until its head and body separate. This reinforcer is none other than Kaiju number 8, Kafka. He looks at the powerful Kaiju enemy and feels furious, unable to accept the miserable situation of his junior at this moment. Kafka roars and forms a sound barrier to block the attack. Then his attack is like raindrops in a rainstorm, intensively hitting Kaiju number 9's body. Kaiju number 9's brain quickly analyzes the battlefield situation and concludes that if it doesn't escape, it will die here. Kafka doesn't give it a chance. He smashes Kaiju number 9's body and finds that the enemy's weakness is in the chest cavity. The isolation space created by Kaiju number 9 has been lifted, and the members of the defense force have entered. Kaiju number 9 pretends to attack these humans, forcing Kaiju number 8 to defend and unable to pursue. Humanity's greatest enemy has escaped. The defense force knows that Kaiju number 8 and Kaiju number 9 are the same, so Kafka immediately flees to avoid being attacked. Unfortunately, he is tracked down by Sushiro. Sushiro believes that it was Kaiju number 8 who seriously injured Reno and Iharu, and he gathers all his anger on the next attack. At this moment, Sushiro's killing intent is truly terrifying, but Kafka can't bear to attack Sushiro, and he is injured frequently while dodging. Sushiro shows a speed that is faster than Kaiju number 9. For Kafka, the trouble is that Sushiro confirms the weak spot through Kafka's wounds, and he will not miss this good opportunity. Sushiro launches a long-range raid to divert Kafka's attention, and then he stabs the weak spot with his strongest blow. Kafka guesses Sushiro's tactics and throws a punch to increase the distance between them. He successfully escapes under the cover of flying dust. Sushiro is frustrated and confused. When his tactics were discovered, Kaiju number 8 gave up the opportunity to kill. To be precise, Kaiju number 8 did not attack at all during the whole battle and was dodging most of the time. At this time, another news comes that the Kaiju that attacked Reno and Iharu is the one that appeared in a human form during the defense force selection. At this moment, Kaiju number 9, severely injured, consumes a human to heal its body. It takes on the appearance of the one it devoured and begins its infiltration once again. A few days later, Reno finally wakes up and thanks Kafka. Iharu, curious, asks why he's thanking Kafka. Only then does Reno notice that Iharu is in the bed right next to him. Fortunately, Iharu is simple-minded and easily fooled, so he doesn't connect Kafka with Kaiju number 8. After all the injured members are discharged from hospital, the rookie Haruchi organizes a celebration banquet. His family runs the largest equipment manufacturing company in the country, the very one that supplies the Defense Forces combat suits. The reason Haruchi is put in charge of organizing the banquet this time is simple. His family is wealthy enough to treat everyone to premium beef. After several months of training and living together, plus the recent battle they went through, the rookies have built a deep bond. Now, all they need is a little alcohol to break down the last emotional barriers. Many who are usually shy seem like completely different people once they start drinking, and the atmosphere becomes incredibly lively. Sushiro announces that Kafka has been promoted to a full-fledged member of the team, thanks to his contribution in identifying the Kaiju's weakness during the last battle. The rookies cheer loudly. None of them look down on Kafka just because he's weak in combat. After the celebration banquet, Mina hosts a promotion ceremony for Kafka. She is going to the headquarters to report the intelligence of Kaiju number 8 and Kaiju number 9, and the work of 3rd Unit is handed over to Sushiro. Before leaving, Mina tells Kafka that she always remembers the agreement between them. Kafka studies until late every day to become stronger and fight with Mina. One day, Kafka finds that the lights in the training room are still on. Sushiro is reenacting the process of the last battle. He regrets that he used the wrong tactics when fighting Kaiju number 8 last time. Otherwise, he would have had a chance to kill him with the first attack. Kafka is so frightened that he almost wets his pants. He always feels that the captain and vice captain are more like villains than the Kaiju. At this moment, a group of flying Kaiju flies over the base of the 3rd Unit, and a humanoid Kaiju in the clouds gives the order to land. Kafka is out on the rooftop getting some air when he suddenly sees countless fireballs raining down from the sky. At the same time, many Defense Force members jolt awake from their sleep. The apocalyptic scene shakes everyone to their core. In the command room, Kokomi reports to Sushiro that every single Kaiju has a disaster level of 6 or higher, meaning that the dozens of invading Kaiju are all at main Kaiju level or above. Most of the Kaiju that appeared before are not that smart, but this time the Kaiju chooses the base as their invasion target. This speculation makes Sushiro very uneasy, and Mina is not in the base at the moment. He immediately arranges a battle plan, and he wants to find out the truth behind this invasion. At this time, Kafka calls Sushiro. He spends a lot of time studying history and now it is finally useful. Kafka tells Sushiro that in the past, about 10 flying Kaiju appeared every year, and they all acted independently. This time, the flying Kaiju act collectively, most likely because they are dominated by a Super Kaiju. The Super Kaiju that Kafka and Sushiro had suspected gradually emerges from the mist. It will later be designated as Kaiju number 10. Kokomi monitors its disaster level at 8.3. Kaiju with a level above 8 are assigned numbers, which is the main way to distinguish ordinary Kaiju from Super Kaiju. Every attack of Kaiju number 10 is like a meteorite falling, and Sushiro will die immediately if hit. Therefore, the flying Kaiju can only be eliminated by others, while Sushiro must do his best to deal with this Super Kaiju. At this moment, Kafka provides another crucial piece of information. He discovers that the flying Kaiju have evolved a hardened front surface to defend against attacks during flight. Haruchi and Kaguraji immediately formulate a strategy. Kaguraji will draw the flying Kaiju's attention, while Haruchi moves behind to target their weak point. However, to everyone's surprise, aside from Kaiju number 10, these flying Kaiju seem to possess intelligence as well. They coordinate with each other to protect their weak spots. When tactics don't work, let's send in people who don't need tactics. Kikoru directly attacks the hardest skin of the flying Kaiju, and she kills it with a giant axe. In recent years, Kaiju have become stronger and stronger. In order to increase the combat effectiveness of the team, Mina and Sushiro equip Kikoru with a giant axe as her exclusive weapon. Normally, only captains and vice captains can obtain exclusive weapons. Kikoru is an exception because her strength is far ahead of the newcomers of the same class. If Kafka is excluded, Kikoru is only inferior to Mina and Sushiro in combat abilities. This somewhat accidental decision plays a role at this time. Kikoru uses her personal weapon in actual combat for the first time. By combining the weapon's characteristics with her own strengths, she develops many new offensive techniques. Reno supports Kikoru as her backup, and wherever they go, the flying Kaiju cannot escape death. This allows Sushiro to focus on Kaiju number 10, and he flees into the arena to avoid accidentally hurting other members. Kaiju number 10 suddenly accelerates, and Sushiro quickly cuts off its arm. He then removes the restrictions of his battle suit, which has been activated to 92%, enough to deal with a Kaiju of disaster level 8. Sushiro is like a doctor, holding a scalpel and making precise cuts on Kaiju number 10. He has found the weakness of this Super Kaiju, and its defeat seems unavoidable. Kafka is doing his best to help. He secretly transforms just his lower legs into kaiju form to boost his speed, managing to save a female squad member in the nick of time. Just as he prepares to rescue more people, he suddenly senses a strange surge of power. A splitting headache hits him, as if his skull is about to crack open. A strange scene appears. Kaiju number 10's body grows rapidly and its size is close to Godzilla. What's more terrifying is that its disaster level has risen to level 9. According to past experience, only when they reach the captain level can they have a chance to defeat a level 9 kaiju. Sushiro tries to overturn this experience. Unfortunately, kaiju number 10 not only has a high disaster level, but also has a very large body. Sushiro is good at dealing with small and medium kaiju, and his weapons have difficulty breaking through the thick fat of large kaiju. When their battle lasts more than 10 minutes, Sushiro encounters new troubles. The combat suit is running at full capacity for too long, which would cause the user's body to collapse. Kaiju number 10 seems to have noticed Sushiro's abnormality, and it directly commands the flying kaiju to launch a suicide attack. Sushiro has not been in such a desperate state for a long time as he is sent flying by kaiju number 10's tail. His consciousness begins to blur, and his mind uncontrollably brings him back to his childhood. Sushiro came from a family of samurai, but swords were at a disadvantage when fighting kaiju. Unfortunately, Sushiro had a very low compatibility with firearms and similar weapons, and everyone believed he was not suited to join the defense force. When Sushiro receives Mina's invitation, a bright light finally shines into his gloomy life. Now his consciousness returns, and he will not allow himself to betray Mina's trust, even if the price is his own life. At this point, Sushiro is unable to activate his suit to 92% due to the suit's protection mechanism. His speed is much slower than at his peak, and he is eventually caught by kaiju number 10. Kafka can't accept watching Sushiro die. Just as he completes a partial transformation, a woman's voice suddenly comes from afar. The queen of the third unit, Mina, makes a powerful return. What follows is an exceptionally thrilling battle. In order to create Mina a chance to kill, Sushiro continues to attack kaiju number 10 even if he's seriously injured. Kikoru also joins the battle, and with the cooperation of the 3 strongest people in the base, kaiju number 10's body is severely damaged, and the weakness on the back is finally exposed. Kaiju no. 10 erupts with intense survival instinct. It immediately commands the flying kaiju to act as shields. Sushiro has no choice but to keep pushing his body beyond limits to attack. He cannot give kaiju no 10 time to regenerate. His teammates also provide relentless fire support. The battle finally reaches its climax. Mina hits kaiju number 10's weak spot with one shot, and the noise in the training ground is suddenly replaced by silence. Kafka is so excited that he cries. This is the defense force he has always longed for, which is filled with bravery, unity, and with a spirit of sacrifice. Just when everyone puts down their guard, Mina's white tiger suddenly roars. Defense force members look in the direction of the roar and can't believe their eyes. The remaining flying kaiju form a massive ball in the sky, gathering their power for a collective suicide explosion. This is the final revenge from kaiju number 10. It's determined to take the entire 3rd Defense Force down with it. Kokomi estimates that once it explodes, it will have the power of 20,000 tons of dynamite. Just when everyone is at a loss, Kafka rushes out of the crowd at a very fast speed. Sushiro tries to stop it, but finds that he cannot catch up with Kafka. Kafka completes his transformation from feet to head. Kokomi assesses him as disaster level 9.8. The defense force members can't believe their eyes that this middle-aged man Kafka is actually kaiju number 8. At this moment, Kafka silently apologizes to his friends in his heart. He cannot abide by the agreement with Rino and Kikoru. In order to protect his friends, Kafka has to reveal his identity. He knows that even if he is not killed by the explosion, he might be shot by the defense force, but he would rather accept any bad result himself than witness his friends to be killed. Kafka jumps up with all his strength and pushes the ball made of flying kaiju high into the sky. When he runs out of power and falls, the ball is still flying upwards due to the huge inertia. Even so, the explosion still destroys countless buildings. Without Kafka, there might not be any survivors left in this city. Kafka turns around only to face Mina and his teammates aiming their guns straight at him. After Kafka is arrested, the top leaders of the defense force have a heated discussion. Some suggest that Kafka should be killed immediately and transform his body into a super weapon. Another person thinks that Kafka should be transferred to the headquarters before making a decision. This person is the commander of the defense force, Iso. The transfer order is quickly conveyed to the 3rd unit. Kafka is a little nervous, and he feels that everyone is a little indifferent. At this time, Reno suddenly shouts that he believes Kafka will come back. Mina also makes the same statement. There is no surveillance in the escort vehicle, and it is not until then that she could say something from her heart. They all witness Kafka's act of sacrificing himself to save people, and no one in the 3rd unit regards him as a real kaiju. Now everyone is collecting evidence in favor of Kafka. Mina also says that she will wait for Kafka to come back. Kafka is so excited that he cries. At this moment, all members of the 3rd unit salute collectively in the direction where the escort vehicle leaves. Kafka has been gone for only a few days, but it feels like centuries to Reno. Iharu deliberately tells a joke that is not funny, but Reno does not react. Kafka is in a very difficult situation. Once the news of humans turning into kaiju spread, people would start to worry about whether the people around them are also kaiju, which will cause widespread panic. Their discussion ends in vain, and everyone is in a bad mood. There are 2 people who have been working hard to save Kafka. One of them is Mina. She and Kokomi collect a lot of information to help Kafka. The other is Kikoru, who asks Isao to release Kafka. It turns out that they are father and daughter. Kikoru is told by her father that there is a special shadow near Kafka's heart, which is the core that provides power to kaiju and is also the weakness of kaiju. Because Isao's wife was killed by kaiju, he regards all kaiju as enemies, so it is impossible for him to give the order to release. Kafka's arrest triggers a chain reaction, with the 3rd unit suffering the most impact. Mina receives orders from command that Reno, Iharu, Haruchi and Kaguraji will be reassigned to other units for further training. The reason is that the base has been severely damaged and can't provide training grounds for new recruits in the short term. On top of that, with the frequent appearance of super kaiju, every division urgently needs to replenish talented personnel. Haruchi believes they are being reassigned because of their close relationship with Kafka, and that separating them makes it easier to monitor. Mina explains that the reassignment orders has nothing to do with Kafka, and just as everyone is still harboring doubts, Reno is the first to accept the transfer. On the eve of their departure from the 3rd unit, Kaguraji calls his former comrades. Having served in the military before, he hopes to find someone who can put in a good word for Kafka. Haruchi happens to overhear this and is surprised. Kaguraji never liked pulling strings, yet he's making an exception for Kafka. Kaguraji tells Haruchi no matter where he serves, he wants all his comrades to stay healthy until discharge. Unfortunately, Kaguraji's hope is facing a massive threat at this moment. Isao gives the order to release the restraints on Kafka, and in the next moment, he launches a series of attacks. Kafka hurriedly uses partial transformations on the attacked areas to defend himself, fearing that a full transformation would strengthen his kaiju appearance. Kafka tries to hold out by continuously dodging until Isao exhausts his stamina, but he underestimates the commander of the defense force. Isao was once known as the strongest warrior in the team. His equipment was made from the corpse of Kaiju No. 2, and every strike he delivers is enough to cause serious injury. Kafka's stamina-draining tactic ultimately fails. Forced to protect himself, he has no choice but to transform into his full kaiju form. Then something unexpected happens. Kafka first realizes he can't control his body, followed by a mysterious voice constantly urging him to kill the kaiju. In the next moment, Kafka's kaiju body launches a deadly attack against Isao. The one controlling his form is the mysterious larva, the unknown creature responsible for Kafka's mutation. Mysterious larva appears to harbor deep hatred toward kaiju, and Isao's kaiju-made equipment triggers its intense killing intent. KG, the deputy director of the defense force, notices something strange. Isao isn't attacking with lethal force. He seems to be testing Kafka's combat limits. Isao's physical condition has declined with age. Combined with Kaiju No. 8's overwhelming power, Isao struggles badly. His wounds keep increasing until Kaiju No. 8 finally grabs him. Kafka is very anxious. He doesn't want Kikoru to lose his father, and he doesn't want to be the murderer of the commander. But his will is not enough to fight against mysterious larva, and his consciousness is devoured. Just as Kaiju number 8 is about to launch a fatal attack on Isao, Kafka sees Mina in her childhood in his blurred consciousness. In an instant, Kafka regains consciousness and forcibly transfers the attack from Kaiju number 8 to himself. He tells Isao that his name is not Kaiju number 8, but Kafka. After saying this, Kafka falls into a coma. Isao ordered Narumi to put down his weapon. This man is the captain of the first unit and is stronger than Mina. If Kafka did not stop, he would have been killed by Narumi. After brief medical treatment, Isao listens to Mina's account about Kafka. That middle-aged man existing between human and kaiju played crucial roles during several kaiju attacks, ultimately choosing to reveal his identity to save all members of the third unit. Mina's testimony fails to change most headquarters executives' views. To them, Kafka now poses as much threat as a live bomb. Only one person disagrees. Isao ignores the objections of others and insists on keeping Kafka. In the test just now, it is obvious that Kafka is still trying to stick to human sanity. In addition, Kafka is very strong. The kaiju that have appeared recently are getting stronger and stronger. Humans need powerful reinforcements like Kaiju number 8. Many years ago, Kaiju number 6 invaded the human world, killing 3 captains and more than 200 members of the defense force. Isao has a bad feeling, and he hopes to use Kafka to prevent the tragedy from happening again. Soon all members of the 3rd unit receive news that Kafka won't be executed. Their joy in this moment surpasses even defeating a kaiju. Unfortunately, this happiness won't last long. After lying low for some time, Kaiju number 9 has now thoroughly studied human technology. Next, it plans to deliver humanity a gift called destruction. Congratulations! You have just finished watching another classic anime recap on my channel. If you feel it's not enough, don't worry! The 2nd season of this series will premiere in July. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I will bring you the continuation of this highly rated anime as soon as it airs. This series reminds me of EVA. The kaiju are powerful and mysterious like the angel. Isao is cold and harsh like Gendu, and Mina, like Ayanami Rei, feels like a war machine. However, compared to EVA, this series is more lighthearted and warm. Kafka's personality always brings a lot of fun to the story, and personally, I really like Reno as a character. He is humble, hardworking, and responsible. Lastly, let's talk about Kaiju number 9. Its terror lies not only in its strength in battle. Kaiju number 9 constantly imitates and learns from humans. Its intelligence and military awareness are the most alarming aspects. How exactly were these super kaiju created? Why does the mysterious larva want to hunt kaiju? Let's wait for season 2 coming this July to reveal all these answers.